This is the Slots and Sockets podcast, episode number 71. I am one of your hosts, IRD Moose, and my partner in crime,
Turbo Penguin.
Happy Monday, Turbo. Recording on time today, so
Exactly.
kind of back to form like we should be. And this time of year is back to form, because last year we had a lot to talk about with Intel. This year, not so much. It's kind of back to the usual doldrums.
Yep. Not a ton there. I mean, the honest truth is that we're past all the product launches. There's really not much new. For a lot of the development side, you don't have a ton of new games coming out. You don't have new hardware. I think the only thing that we look at this time of year is probably some rumors of maybe a refresh on the graphics card side. We're hearing some more rumors of next gen CPUs. It'll be very interesting. The problem is that we're so far away that anything that's leaked right about now is so far that it doesn't stick. Mm-hmm. So even if you have good numbers, like even if you have internal, like, oh, this is what we're seeing, we're still so far away from actual production pieces that it's like, well, we hope to get this. And it's you can start to set the arena for when they say, well, this is where it is. And if we start seeing, the expectations maybe start going down. So like it starts here and says, oh, it looks good. And then, as you see it kind of come down over time, maybe that's a trend to be, that's somewhat helpful. But the honest truth is that there's nothing close.
There's no physical silicon. Nobody has actual silicon to test. So,
I mean, from I think probably the biggest hardware news that we have this week is Intel basically throwing in the towel and saying, laying off more and more people, shutting down whole facilities.
Which we kind of knew was going to happen when, when they started doing these mass layoffs, especially in Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, they closed the whole Oregon campus down.
Yeah.
Which I think there was some surprise with that.
I mean, not for me. I told you in what was it, when we first talked about the last round of layoffs in December, I think it was, like, I would not expect to see Jones Farm staying open for any length of time. And it's been 6 months, 2 full quarters. So yeah, not surprised.
I think, on Intel side, did they not close down Folsom too? Folsom all the way closed?
Folsom is still there. There's still people there, but the parking lot last I drove by, now granted it was after hours, so take it with a grain of salt, but the parking lot did look pretty sparse. Usually about 3 in the afternoon, it empties out fast.
I know that they've scaled down and a number of the buildings they aren't using.
Yeah.
But anyways, I mean, from a hardware perspective, that's really it. We've got a couple of things, Europe is finally going to get a MSI claw with the Z2 Extreme. That's nothing new.
Yeah. And the pre-orders are looking interesting. So, they're 900 euros. I mean, one of the things, since we really didn't have a whole lot of hardware news, one of the things I wanted to talk about was something that came across my radar called Optiscaler. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but if you're a fan of the frame gen technologies, the upscaling technologies and all of that, this looks like a pretty interesting open source project. We've got an opportunity here for, people on AMD to potentially leverage DLSS in games that don't have support for XeSS or Fidelity FX. Because this seems to kind of sit in between as a middleman or a translation layer. And, if you're kind of on that ragged edge of having a smooth experience, but it's still playable, this is something that might be able to help you out. And if you've got a card that supports FSR4, or Fidelity FX frame generation, then you could potentially turn on DLSS with frame gen and get benefits in those games, and vice versa. If you have a game that only supports FSR or XeSS, you can flip that on and kick it over to your DLSS enabled GPU. But the real crux of it is what your GPU supports, because it's not able to overcome that limitation just yet. But it's it's kind of an interesting thing and something probably worth checking out. So I'll put a link to the GitHub in the show notes for us. And the other software item comes from our friends at EA.
You know, we talked last week about how so many like IPs are like disappearing.
Hmm.
That it's interesting how our perspective and view of EA is maybe softening a little bit. How we're we're not happy.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I can say is I hear a lot from different people really kind of hoping and optimistic that Battlefield 6 doesn't suck. And I'll
Yeah.
say, in all honesty, just like looking at some of the gameplay, um, I'm hopeful that this is good. I see it could be good, but the honest truth is it was so many IPs killed off, stuck, not doing anything. Um,
Yep.
I think we need to just kind of be aware that, hey, for the IPs that are still being made, and I really hope that maybe there's some positive, that hopefully the developers are listening,
Yeah.
because Battlefield is a great series. Well, let me rephrase it. It was a great series.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say it's had some rough releases the last few. Um,
if
yeah.
I think that there's definitely some good options there if they can do it right.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. They've said that they're listening. I'm not guaranteeing that that's the actual case, but um, there's movement, and I think we're probably going to see um, some good things. I really think the biggest thing for Battlefield is going to be the community has to really want to play this, and if they do, it'll be a good game, because Battlefield is always been a really good game, large scale,
Yep.
and if you can do it, players will play. The honest truth is, if you look at games like BattleBit's a heck of a fun game.
Yep.
Um,
And it's basically
it's
Minecraft
battle.
meets old school Battlefield.
It is 100%, which is so interesting.
Yep.
So hopefully, what I really think that developers really need for some of these games is to get in and play some of these the original versions of games that were
Mhm.
really popular, and be like, this is your game. This is what you're making.
Yep.
And and
And
I think Call of Duty, I think there should probably a lot of things that they could pick up that are, that Call of Duty, that would have probably prevented them from doing some of these less than ideal choices.
yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. I mean, I hate to say that no developers play games, but I would make the argument that I I question if some of these developers are really gamers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I really wonder, cuz the developers that made games all the way up, I'd say, until the early 2010s were also gamers. Like they made games because they loved gaming and they wanted to produce a product that they wanted to play. And I think that's kind of been the trend is in the industry is hiring people just to code stuff, not necessarily because gaming was their passion. And it's fine to hire people just to code stuff. But at the end of the day, you need to have people at the helm who are passionate about games and are there to make something that they want to play and that, other gamers want to play. Not necessarily just them, but things that have worked well in the past and drawn a large audience. Uh, that people like you and I want to play, that are engaging, that are entertaining, and not necessarily um things like Concord. Like,
Like, but if you go back, if you kind of just go back and look
mhm,
at PC gaming, like you realize how many IPs have been dead for a long time.
mhm.
And even then, like, didn't make like Unreal Tournament,
Yeah,
completely dead.
and
Quake,
they
completely
released a
dead.
free Unreal Tournament. You can't even get it on Epic Store anymore.
Age of
It's yeah.
Empires is dead. I mean, Microsoft has killed up pretty much all of their IP.
I mean, they did a
Um,
remake and they did a 4K remake recently, but of that, but
yeah,
that's a remake.
Descent.
Yeah,
They tried Rise of the Triad and it failed miserably.
yeah.
But like there hasn't been a Half-Life game in such a long time.
System
Um,
Shock is one that's kind of coming back.
yeah.
That's kind of
Um,
reviving. Halo
you
is
know,
effectively dead. Although that's
Halo is effectively dead. I mean, and I think that'll continue to be dead because yeah.
yeah.
Um, Diablo has had some newer versions of that. Baldur's Gate has
Yeah.
have a newer one, but a lot of these older IPs, just like if you look at the games and you sit there and say where it was 10, 15, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
where it is today, PC games in general are wildly different. And like, so I would say that in some cases, I do believe it's better. Like, I could make arguments on both ways for so many different titles. Grand
Mhm.
Theft Auto, for sure, I think is way more fun with the new version, especially considering the online version of it. I think that's heck of fun. I still think GTA 5 is probably one of the, I think from the longevity perspective, probably the best PC game, I think,
Of the last
period.
decade.
I mean, because if you look at like
Yeah. I
they've been
I would
able
say
to
of the
make
last
that
decade.
game. I
Yeah.
mean, when was GTA 5 was
The
released?
original was 2000. I want to say
13.
2012, 13. Oh, 2013. Yeah.
Initial release was it was September of 13.
Yep.
We still don't have the precursor to it. It's a year plus away, I would say. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
it's coming out until mid to late next year, and that's being generous. But they're still selling. And what's crazy is that GTA 5 is like top 10 in Steam sales. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a 13-year-old game.
Yeah.
And it's a game that if you looked at 13 years ago and looked at today, would be like, I understand the same game, but the evolution is amazing how much they've done. And it's
Yeah.
just, some developers do really well and some just stagnate.
Yeah.
Um, there's definitely some really interesting like IPs that you could go out and really make. The question is, can you get enough talent to make it something really special?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know. I think that's the loaded question. Like, to be honest, they're at this point, I don't understand how someone has it made like a 007 GoldenEye style game. Like that was super popular.
Well, that got canned.
Exactly.
It was Perfect Dark. Perfect
Oh, it
Dark
was?
is actually what GoldenEye was built on top of. And then the Perfect Dark remake is what I think it was Rare that was working on that. It might have been somebody else who owned that, but Rare initially developed the original Perfect Dark and then went on to make GoldenEye and then Banjo Kazooie of all things. Go figure. All great games in their own right, but that's actually why a lot of the speedrunners who speedrun GoldenEye use tricks from Perfect Dark because it essentially is Perfect Dark with a GoldenEye skin. But I mean, that said, it's a phenomenal game, and you know, I to be able to have that back, they've tried to bring it back a couple of times, and it just hasn't worked. And so, you know, I would love to see that. I would love to see 4-player split screen uh, versus matches on one machine
Yeah.
in GoldenEye on
Or
modern
even
hardware.
or even if you just took back and said, you know what, Call of Duty, the World War II versions,
Hmm.
Medal of Honor is another game that's just gone,
Yeah,
doesn't exist. The IP, I don't even know who owns it. I think it's an EA owned title, but obviously it's not going to go anywhere.
yeah,
Um, but like, I almost feel like if you went back and did World War II type stuff, because you've got games like Hell Let's Loose. So yeah,
yeah,
Hell Let Loose,
yeah.
and
I think that's right.
you know, I think that there's some challenges with that game being super hardcore that turns some players off from that.
Yeah.
Um, if you could make something like that in current stuff, I think that would be good. Um, you almost kind of think that you look at what BattleBit is doing. It's almost like the next version of BattleBit's got to do like World War II version.
Hmm.
But even like the Bad Company stuff, like Battlefield Bad Company, like the Bad Company of Vietnam was heck of fun.
Yep.
So there's some good opportunities for games. Um, I think the loaded question is when we don't have a lot of big names and they're not or people who are willing to put a lot of time and money into some of these games, I hope that we'll continue to see some AAA games outside of things like, I don't know. I mean, you think about it, like, where is all of development money going? Call of Duty,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Obviously,
they're and
GTA 6 is going to get a lot of money to do that, which makes sense.
yeah, and Call of Duty isn't even putting the money into actually developing the game. It's all going to artists for skins and gun packs and design gun designs. And then they're not even using the artists to do the promotional stuff. They're using AI to generate the promotional stuff. Like, are you kidding me? But no, I think one of the things in the industry right now that's kind of making the larger quadruple A developers and publishers um take note is, you know, one guy in Australia named Tyler is beating the pants off of them with his uh drug dealing simulator game. You know, he's a multi-millionaire practically overnight because he just made something that he thought was fun. And now he's doing it because he made a ton of money and it's his passion project. So, you know, if a high schooler can beat the pants off of AAA developers in terms of sales with zero marketing, you know the entire industry is completely hosed.
Yeah.
You know, and when you take when you take that Ubisoft pirate ship game, um what was Skull and Bones. It's so bad I can't even remember the name. And you compare it graphically to the game it was literally originally meant to be an expansion pack for, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. It is a downgrade in virtually every single aspect from the game that released in, what was it, 2012 when Black Flag came out? Like, are
Mhm.
you kidding me? Oh, but guys, it's a quadruple A game, and what was it? A year, 2 years after release, they finally give you the ability to swim out to your ship. Woo! Stuff people were asking for from day one that was in the original game from 10 years prior. And yeah, no, the industry really needs to get shooken up big time. And indie developers are, I think, where we're going to see it, like with BattleBit, like with
I think BattleBit was a good
Schedule
move.
One. Yeah, no, BattleBit was a phenomenal move. Schedule One's a great move. And there are indie games all over the map that are blowing up because they're going back to simple but entertaining and addictive gameplay mechanics that keep you coming back. And that, I think, is where the industry really needs to get back to, not this, pull a slot machine lever and you might get the skin you want. Who knows?
You know, we have so many tried and true like games out there that you've got that we really just haven't seen
Yeah.
a reiteration of. And the thing is like if you look at something like TF2, and I think Valve has maybe put a little bit more time into it, but that game has gotten so like crazy
Mm-hmm.
that it's almost like I want to go back to TF2 at the beginning
Yep.
before all of this craziness was there,
Yeah.
because the
Before they
game
did the hats.
before they did all this stuff,
Yeah.
because before you had all that, the game was great.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. And I think that in some respects, some of these games kind of went that way. And I think some games that we would love, like I think, obviously Half-Life, everyone wants to see the end of that. There is an ending. There's got to be something out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see Valve putting time and effort into that. Um, I think it's gonna be like the game. It'll probably like in 10 years. And like, but
Valve finally counts to 3 20 years later because
I,
Half-Life 2 came out in 2005. We're
I know.
20 years out from Half-Life 2.
The sad thing is that by the time that they get around to actually making it, that you'll have people who, and this is sad to say, that grew up, loved, and aren't around to play the game,
Mm-hmm.
and that's sad. That's sad because the honest truth is I think in a lot of respects, I think Valve owes it to its fans. And the thing is that it's not like they're giving the stuff away. Half-Life made them who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Between because Half-Life is the game that absolutely kicked off Valve,
Yeah.
and it was a Half-Life mod, Counter-Strike, and Team Fortress. These were mods of Half-Life,
Mm-hmm.
but it was Half-Life that made Valve who they are.
Yeah.
And it's sad that today these other games have gotten refreshes and done, but Half-Life hasn't.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's other games that are stuck that may never get developed because there's games that can make developers more money.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's
for
absolutely the
instance,
case.
Day of Defeat. That is a game that is so good. Um,
Hmm.
should be a game that has a refresh. Should absolutely be something super fun. Completely gone.
Yeah. Well, they did refresh it for the Source engine,
For
but
Source, yeah, but I mean
I
that was
never.
Day of Defeat Source. How old is
Yeah.
that? I mean that's got to be
Again,
at
that
least
was that was
2010.
that was Orange Box. That would have been 2005.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, because it launched with Half-Life 2 and the Orange Box and Portal is another one where we could definitely use another entry on that one. Portal
And
is
now,
so fun. Again,
and what's
it's a single
interesting
player
is
experience.
Portal could be, and it is great. I will say Portal is excellent, but uh, there's so many games that we could say this about. I mean, that's
Yep.
the truth of the matter is if you look at all of the IPs that are out there, I
Mhm.
could give you 15 or 20 that I sit there and say, if you remade this, even if you just remade this and made it what it was before
Yep.
with very little changes, maybe balances and quality of life pieces, like, dude, if you gave me Unreal Tournament with Facing Worlds and the exact same like characteristics with modern engine,
Yep.
uh,
UT99 with on
yeah,
UT6. Yeah. I
exactly.
would I would be
But
so
but
happy.
but Unreal has turned into an engine. Unreal's not a game; it's an
Yep.
engine now, and they're
Well, it
not going
always
to
was
make a
both.
game.
It
No, but now they're not making the game, and that's
Right.
what's sad.
And I
And
think
just like
that's
Half Life,
I think that's exactly why we're seeing all these issues with Unreal Engine, and they're having to go back and make major fixes in Unreal Engine 6. Um, because Unreal Tournament was what they used to effectively test, break, and then fix their engine so that it was the premier engine and everyone wanted to use it. But
well,
I'll tell you,
again, I mean, Unreal and Valve are the same. I mean,
exactly.
they are absolutely the same.
Yeah,
They are gamers that made something that people started using, and then they realized that they didn't have to make games; they just had to make the engine.
yeah.
And so, how many games are based off of Source? A lot. How many
Mhm.
games are based off of Unreal?
Virtually
A
all of them
whole lot.
now.
A whole
Yeah.
lot of them. I mean, I would say 50+%
Yeah, the
are
vast
based off
majority of
of
them.
are Unreal.
And then the
And
rest are based on Unity.
yeah,
I mean,
so
come on.
you look at that and you'd be like, man, how?
Yeah,
Well, it's really simple. When you have no more, I mean, Steam has no incentive to make video games.
yeah,
Why? Because they make a percentage of every sale that happens in the store,
yep,
and they're perfectly fine with taking their little middleman cut,
yep,
and that's it.
yeah,
Um, Unreal is the exact same way. They make their money up front, that's guaranteed.
mhm,
And every time they sell a game with Unreal on it, they make their little chunk of change, and they don't have to make anything. They don't have to content create anything.
yep,
They have to make a demo.
yep,
And Valve, all they have to do is just encourage people to make games,
yep,
other people to make games. And I think that that's where I think some of the downside with the gaming community really has turned,
mhm,
is that it's churned from we have people who really want to make games to now those people who really want to make games just make engines.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing is I think all the people that really wanted to make games got ended up retiring. And the people that were left were just the ones that wanted to make engines, and that was it. And, I mean, the other side of the coin is that the games that they're making are now these loot box and microtransaction hellstorms like Fortnite, like Call of Duty, where, okay, yeah, you sell a $60 game or you make it free to play, and then all the stuff that people want is locked behind a microtransaction. Well, okay, so now you sell that $60 game and then you get people buying the 9.99 a month battle pass because they always want the cool skins.
Well, what's worse, and the worst is the games where you've got the meta like equipment and guns or
Mhm.
armor or whatever it might be
And they
that
completely
is
nerf the meta, and then it becomes a new meta.
exactly. And so the only way to effectively play competitively is to spend the money and be in the pay side of it. And
Mhm.
if you're not on the pay side of it, you're at a disadvantage. You know,
Well,
I,
I mean, a lot of the games these days have gotten away from the pay to win mechanics like EA had, and EA was initially the worst offender at this. And the EA has even pulled away from that. So, the vast majority of the microtransaction crap now is just skins. Virtually none of the competitive games give you any that I'm aware of give you any kind of like competitive advantage or bonus from buying skins. It's just, hey, this is a shiny new look for your character. So
you know,
there
it's
you
what's
go.
interesting. I was just looking at this just to kind of see like what games EA has coming out.
Mm-hmm. Of
Okay. EA has all the sports games.
course.
Okay. So Madden, Formula One, all of the college football, the NBA, their normal sports things that they still have contracts for. Okay. They have Split Fiction and they've got, I think it's like two more, but that's it. There's no need for speed.
I've never heard of Split Fiction. What is it?
Split Fiction, from what I understand, is it's a mix between class based and Portal. The
Okay.
problem was is that there's Split Fiction 2, I believe, and Split Fiction. So Split Fiction came out, and developers were like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and then they. It sounds like from what I was reading on it, it got abandoned by the developers, and they started making Split Fiction 2.
Mm,
Nope, never mind. Um, oh, um, Split Fiction is a co-op. It's
okay.
a co-op game where it's a. I'm thinking of something very different. Sorry, Split Fiction, which is an EA game. That actually is fun, by the way. It is a co-op two-player where you guys work together to complete a single player game, but you do it together,
Oh, okay.
and you have to play like and do things like one player will help the other player, and it goes back and forth. It's got a pretty good. The only downside to Split Fiction is that once it's done, and the game and you finish the game,
Mm-hmm.
um, the replay is to play the other half, but you know what's going to happen. So uh, I'm just interested to see if there's any long term support because there is. I mean, it is only multiplayer,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it will be interesting to see if there's some longevity to this or if it's just a one time thing. Um, I have it, and I've got me and Lakers actually played it, and then we just kind of got drifted into other things. But
That's the way it happens a lot. Is you'll pick up something to play with somebody, and then you drift into other stuff.
it's just when I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, EA and Split Fiction, Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, exactly. They're not using Frostbite. Like, come
No,
on.
no,
And
no,
how
it's
much you want to
not.
bet? How much you want to bet the Battlefield 6 is going to be Unreal Engine?
Actually, that's a good question.
I would be very surprised if it's Frostbite. I would
Oh, I
love it to
doubt
be
it.
Frostbite, but
I don't think it is.
I would almost bet you it's going to be UE. Which, I mean, that's not to say that's a bad thing. UE is a phenomenal engine. It does amazing things. I mean, have you watched The Mandalorian or any of the Star Wars shows on Disney Plus? A lot of that actually comes from Unreal Engine.
It's interesting. Yeah, I just Google gives you two different ways of looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
Battlefield 2042
Mm-hmm.
used Frostbite,
Okay.
but and there's no confirmation. Um, but it looks like Battlefield 6 is not on Frostbite.
Well, it's probably too early to know for sure. We'll probably see more leaks. So yeah, I mean, I would prefer to stay on Frostbite because Frostbite is what brought them to the dance floor. But that's a development decision they're gonna have to make and see what they can do to make it happen. So I think on that bombshell, we will
Yep.
call it a show for this evening. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for giving us a bit of your time. And do remember to jump down the doobly-doo down below, give us a like, a subscribe, drop us a comment, and let us know how we're doing and what you think of the current situation in gaming for PC, console, what have you.
Oh, we don't care about consoles.
Well, I mean, consoles are basically PCs, unless you're talking about the Switch, which bricks itself, so it's just a brick. Or I should say a brick waiting to happen. So, Until next time, have fun storming the castle.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.